Back here on AQ on DTC3, and on this segment, we're going to shift gears just a little bit, talk some professional football, talk some Tennessee Titans. And with us today is ChadMinton of the Bleacher Report. Chad covers the Tennessee Titans for Bleacher Report. Chad, first of all, thank you for making the drive over today.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
It's a lot to talk about right now with the Tennessee Titans. The first thing I do want to mention is the tragedy surrounding Rob Baronis, and we don't want to get a lot into the details right now that's coming out, seemingly bizarre details coming out by the moment, it seems like. But let's talk about his place in Titans history and even in NFL history. What kind of goes unnoticed with Baronis? He's listed as, I believe, the 7th most accurate kicker in NFL history, and certainly he determined a lot of big outcomes for this Titans team.
Yeah, he was just a great member of the organization during his time here. Made a lot of great kicks. Of course, the one a lot of people remember was the one the game winner 60-yarder against the Colts when Peyton Manning was still there. It was a great win, great moment in Titans history. Probably ranked top 5 for me, best Titans moments. But he was also a great teammate, a great member of the community. Did a lot of great things. So it's just a very, very tragic loss for this community, for the organization. And hopefully the Titans can come out and have a really good season in his honor and move on from there.
Darvin, you can appreciate this. Baronis single-handedly beat me in the game against Houston a few years ago. I think he had 26, 28 fantasy points, but certainly an outstanding kicker, an outstanding member of the organization, and a great member of the community. He will be missed. Chad, as we look at the Tennessee Titans right now, this is a team now after 3 weeks. They've gone from penthouse to the outhouse, if you will, after the Week 1 win over Kansas City. A lot of buzz. But now suddenly after losing to Cincinnati, albeit a very good Cincinnati team, fans are trying to write this team off a little bit. Where do you see the Titans right now? Are they the team that came out looking like world beaters in Week 1, or more like the team we saw against Cincinnati, or somewhere in the middle?
I think as of right now, they definitely fall in the middle. It's hard to really get a firm grip on this team 3 weeks through the season with all the changes they went through, going to a 3-4 defense, having some new rookies that are playing big roles on the team, having the new head coach, Ken Wisenhunt. The opening season win over the Chiefs was a little misleading in the sense that they were a depleted Chiefs team. They didn't have a couple key players, including Dwayne Bowe, which really helped the Titans secondary without Alteron Werner, so they're going through some growing pains as well. They kind of got a chance to go into a very tough environment at Arrowhead Stadium and get a big win. It was a big win. But the last 2 weeks, they've shown their inconsistencies, for sure. They were favored against the Cowboys, a lot of buzz going into that game, and they kind of didn't show up, especially in the first half. Tried to make a valiant effort in the second half, but came up short. And then against the Bengals, which is a very good team, I have them as an AFC sleeper for sure in the playoffs. They left a lot of opportunities on the field. And so where I see this team right now is basically somewhere in the middle. Jury's still out on them. They've got a big game this week against the Colts, their first divisional game of the year. And going into Lucas Oil Stadium and winning that game can really change the outlook. We'll be singing a much different tune on this team next week. If they go in there and get a win, they'll be 2-2, right in the thick of the division race. So the jury's still out on this team. There's no reason to panic just yet.
I think the easiest target for most casual fans of the Titans comes to the quarterback, and obviously playing the quarterback in the NFL is a very tough position. Locker has shown flashes, and I felt like that if he stayed healthy, he would be rather productive. That's really not been the case to this point. Do you feel like Locker is ultimately the long-term goal for Wisenhunt as the starter for the Tennessee Titans and the staff, or do you feel like that he's not really taking hold of this job? I mean, I think a lot of people kind of wonder, is this the guy we're going to roll with?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do believe that the organization wants Jake Locker to succeed. They want to have him long-term. They want him to be the answer. But they did a great thing by getting Zach Mettenberger such late in the draft. It was a great steal. He's kind of their backup plan. I don't believe that they want to have to use him this year. They want to let him develop, let him sit on the bench, much like what Aaron Rodgers did, not comparing the two. But that's what Aaron Rodgers did. Look how that turned out. So they definitely don't want to just thrust him in there if Jake Locker continues to struggle and the season kind of falls off the tracks. That's kind of why they have Whitehurst there to kind of be the brains of the operation, come in and play if he has to, and then move on in 2015, most likely with Zach Mettenberger, if this season does go off the tracks. I do think that Jake Locker still has a great chance to take hold of this franchise and become the franchise quarterback, get a long-term deal. But it's a make or break year that's being thrown around a lot this year, and it's for good reason. He is definitely in his make-or-break year for his NFL career, not just with the Titans. And so he's dealing with a little bit of a wrist injury right now. Not even sure if he will play this week against the Colts. So we just have to wait and see. We'll find out more later in the week, obviously, on if he's going to be able to play or not. But once again, the injury bug is kind of plagued him again, and we feared that would happen looking at his history. And so we'll have to see how he's a tough guy for sure. So we'll have to see if he can battle back, put together a great game plan. Much like this team, if he can come out and play a great game against the Colts, then it's a much different outlook on his season. So
through your coverage with the Titans, talk a little bit. I mean, Wisenhunt seems like he's got some cachet. You know, I think he's pretty well respected around the league, especially offensively, what he's been able to do at different stops. Talk a little bit about your coverage with the Titans and how you feel he's going to do ultimately. And he's assembled a pretty good staff. And talk a little bit about that.
I think it was a great coaching hire for the Titans. I really do. He brings a great offensive mind, obviously. But we have to realize and pump the brakes a little bit. It's easy to freak out on where this team's sitting right now, but they're going through growing pains. He brought in a big new staff. He brought in a lot of new players, a lot of free agents, a lot of draft picks are playing key roles right now on the team. So we have to give him some time to really mold this team into his own. But the offense has actually, I think, looked a lot better from last year as far as creating opportunities to score. They haven't necessarily cashed in on those opportunities, particularly against Cincinnati. But it goes back to Jake Locker once again. You've got to have consistent play from your quarterback position in this league. It's a passing league. It's a quarterback-driven league. It's a big thing that the Titans have suffered through since Steve McNair left us. And so that's the big thing is he's got to get his quarterback, whether it's Jake Locker or whether it's someone else, Zach Mettenberger, whoever it is, he's going to have to get in there. He's going to have to really work with him, and I think he's the right coach for that job. He's done that with Kurt Warner. He did a great job last year with Phillip Rivers, kind of revitalized his career last year with the Chargers. So he's definitely the right coach for this team to get this quarterback position under control. And so we'll just have to kind of wait and see what goes on with Jake Locker the rest of this season.
Ray Horton is basically termed a 3-4 guru, and of course they've called this a hybrid defense since coming in. But what do you see from the transition going from a basic 4-3 into, if you want to call it, a hybrid 3-4? Has it been smooth? Because basically you're working with the same personnel you had, albeit a couple of free agency additions during the offseason, but has it been a smooth transition? And I've heard Coach Horton say that Game 4, Game 5, you're going to see this really starting to gel. Are we going to wait to that point, or is it going to take a little bit longer, do you think?
It definitely hasn't been as smooth as you would like to see with the defense. They've had trouble stopping the run. They did well against the Chiefs, holding Jamal Charles under 20 yards, which is no easy task. But since then, they struggled through the preseason. They've struggled the last 2 weeks stopping DeMarco Murray against the Cowboys, and then they struggled against the Bengals as well. We're also kind of starting to wonder, do they have the athletes to play in this 3-4 defense? You've got to be extremely athletic, and your linebackers have to be able to drop back into coverage. You've got Derek Morgan and Cameron Wembley who drop back from defensive end. They're playing a lot of linebacker. Can they make that full transition and be able to drop back into coverage and cover a lot of these athletic tight ends that are in the NFL these days? And they're struggling with that right now. You're also seeing a lot of discipline issues with the defense. They had 2 personal fouls. They're close to the tops in the league in penalties right now. Had a lot of penalties against the Bengals. So they've got to get more disciplined on defense. It's definitely not been smooth, but much like the rest of this team, you've got to give them some time to really get their feet under them. I think halfway through the season, especially when they get to their bye week, we'll really have a firm grasp on how this transition's going.
Before we let you go, we got to let folks at home know how they can read your stuff on Bleacher Report, and if they want to contact you, Twitter. I know you're on Twitter. That's how I found you. So tell us a little bit about how they can read your work on Bleacher Report.
Yeah, Bleacher Report is a great website, great sports website. You can. I'm one of 3 feature columnists on BleacherReport.com. Put out some great work. You can follow me on Twitter at Chad_Minton. And look forward to. I always appreciate every reader I get. Love comments from fans, from opposing fans alike. I always like to get a good sports debate going, and I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming and being on our show today, and come back be with us, talk Titans anytime. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.